Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another Brony Debates Live. I hope you're all having a wonderful Friday night and are doing pretty well for yourselves out there. I'm feeling pretty good for myself, and we've got a very interesting topic tonight that should be very educational for me above all else, because tonight we're going to be talking about how to steal art. And while I do have a decent number of friends who I would call artists, and are a great number of them are far more talented than I am. That being said, I don't know very much about art myself, so I'm looking forward to a learning experience on tonight's debate. So joining us tonight, we've got the man who helps me with my A Buck to the Face videos on the editing side, and a very talented artist himself. If you have not already checked out his DeviantArt from the previous times he's been on my shows, you need to get on that right away. Mr. Neo Anton suggested tonight's topic. How are you doing tonight, Neo?
I'm doing good.
Good. So, what made you want to discuss tonight's topic? And before you answer, I want to read off your suggestion as you sent it to me. So, linked in the description of this video is another video by a man called KNKL334, and it's titled "I Am an Art Thief and You Should Be Too." And that's where we sort of pulled inspiration and the basis for this topic. And what you said was, is it okay to download and trace and sketch other people's drawings as a learning thing or as an educational experience? But is it also okay to use elements from other artwork to make your own artwork, taking themes, designs, colors, and mixing it to be your own? So with that said, why did you want to talk about this topic?
Well, the topic always been controversial all the time because when I first started drawing, I always got comments about, nah, this is kind of stealing, but I like, is it? And as I got older, doing more and more art, I started realizing stealing certain type of ways and just tracing and copying all have different meaning to different people all the time.
Hmm. All right, so you're thinking it's a little bit more subjective, and that's pretty interesting. So, in order, because you've got your take on it, and I know nothing. So, in order to get a really good discussion out of this, I reached out to all of my friends that are artists themselves, and I managed to get on a couple of the best. So, also joining us tonight, we've got Miss Red Palette. How are you doing tonight, Red?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. And we've also got Mr. Aleximus Prime joining us once again. Welcome back to the show, Aleximus. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Brony. Thanks for having me on here.
Always a pleasure. So, before we really get into the meat and potatoes to it, I gotta give a big shout out to my very generous supporters on Patreon, especially those on the $10 and up tier. Time for this big long list. Got to get a big deep breath in, and here we go. Princess Heather Blossom, Shady Oak Ministry, Sid McConroy, Autoknight, Emerald Spencer, Sodden, Girder, Senko, Jennan, Kellogg, Kyle Christensen, TJ Skywalker, Stephen A. Wilson, Wreck, Rein-Kun, Princess Sunshine, Sparkle, The Bootleg, Bard, The Silly Fox, Zororock 720, and the Equestrian City Heroverse series. All of these people have their own content links in the description. I highly recommend checking them out. My supporters, I don't know why I attract such talented content creators, but they make good stuff, and everybody should be going and checking them out, as well as my panel guests for tonight. I'm just surrounded by amazing people, really, and I'm very grateful for it. And their support makes my life a lot easier. So glad to have all that support. Glad to have you guys on. Let's get into the show. So, first and foremost, we should define our terms. So, Neo, what would you say constitutes as art theft?
Art theft would simply be like saying, "Oh, I see this person art, I automatically go and steal it." So that's the type of art theft you want to definitely stay away from.
Okay, but how do you steal art in the way that stealing art is the kind of art stealing that you want to stay away from? Like, give me some specifics on the method. Let's teach our audience how to do crime.
You talking the good way or the bad way?
In the bad way.
The bad way.
Yeah.
Okay, the bad way. The bad way, pretty much like I say, like if you saw a picture online, then you just want to go ahead and just take it for your own. No, give the original person credit. Upload it to your account, even though it not belong to you. Claiming the artwork belong to you. Selling it off, even though the art doesn't belong to you. Those would be like the bad way using it.
Okay, that's pretty comprehensive. And so, what's the good way then?
A good way, I would say, art theft is okay to download a picture and keep it for yourself, but don't do it like in public type of way, like put it on your account. Like you can have it on your phone, you want like wallpaper and that stuff. And also, it's okay to use it as a type of learning tool. Like I could download their pictures and just personally use it for like trying to understand how they draw the picture.
Ah, okay. So that's some good definitions. Let's move on. Red, what do you think? Do you have anything to add or take away from what Neo said?
I think Neo summed it up pretty well. When you take a watermarked image, especially comics, and you get rid of that watermark and you claim it as your own, or when you take a video and post it without credit, that can even be a form of art theft as well. I see that all the time on Facebook and TikTok and things like that, where people will take others' videos or even just do the dirty and screen record them and post them as their own, as though they made the video and not credit the original owner. So I think it can go in all forms of art, not just digital art or traditional art.
Or do the even dirtier and hold your cell phone up to your computer monitor to record it.
Pull a Kanye.
Yeah, exactly. Aleximus, do you have anything you'd like to add or take away from what we've said so far?
Well, here's the funny thing. I learned this about a month ago when I was doing a little research when somebody pretty much took away from like my art. I'll explain how in a minute. But the term art theft by law is actually only used for when it describes a person physically stealing something like a portrait or a sculpture from a museum or a gallery. Now, we can use the term art thief when we're talking about like this guy reposted my art on DeviantArt, didn't give me credit, didn't have my permission and whatnot. And you can ask them like, hey, take this down. And unfortunately, recently I did that. Somebody reposted my art. Actually, one person reposted my art. The other one traced and recolored. But the first person, I asked them, take this down. And they were like insanely immature about it. They sounded like a 12-year-old idiot who doesn't understand how the internet works.
They almost always do.
Yeah, well, they said they found it on Google Images, and I'm not doing anything wrong because sometimes I just like to post art like other people do. It's like, but it's not your art. You're not allowed to do that on DeviantArt. Well, to make a long story short, I reported them. The artwork got taken down, thankfully, and they probably aren't going to learn their lesson because they sounded like they were really young. I've run into like the most immature of people on the internet who talk like this. But the term art thief, I guess, when dealing with like, legal matters is actually just when a person steals a piece of art and it's like, it can't be replaced too easily. On the internet, we, in the digital age, you can save an image, duplicate it, and it can be spread everywhere pretty much. Plus, with links and embedding pretty much, that's not really reposting the art, because if there's a link, which is usually what artists ask, is if you're going to repost my art, please credit me and link back so people know where to find it. And if somebody does repost my art on DeviantArt, I take that pretty seriously. I report it.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing, and this is different, is when they pretty much will copy your art in being they will trace over it and recolor it, a la Sonic fandom. They're pretty notorious for that, or they were.
Mm-hmm.
Or they will it's pretty obvious they've traced it. Like I had a guy recently who came to me in the comments of one of my pictures and said like, hey, I love your artwork, check out this picture I drew of URLC and mine. And I looked at it and I noticed picture kind of looked familiar. I'm like, hey, I drew a pony that looks like it's posed just like his. What the heck's going on? So anyways, I look in his gallery and I find like 7 pictures that were clearly totally traced from my artwork. And I also noticed several other people's pictures were traced too. Like he made his OC, and this guy had a bunch of like fetish stuff in there. So this was already hard to look through.
Oh, geez.
So all I did right then was I told him like, hey, dude, listen to me. I see you've been tracing a lot of my artwork and other people's. Like, please take all these pictures right here. I made a list of pictures of mine that I could prove he traced, and I told him, please take these down because this is not right. I didn't allow anyone to do this. I asked that people don't.
Mm-hmm.
And then he blocked me. So I reported all. I said it was 7 images. I think it was only like 3 that I was absolutely certain he traced because I found the picture it came from and looked at it and was like, oh yeah, he definitely traced it. The other ones, like, it kind of looked more like it was a style borrowing, which I don't really care if people do that. That's fine. That's kind of like imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but
yeah,
tracing, however,
later.
Yeah, so anyways, the pictures were taken down, but it just irritates me when people do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it gets even worse when people do this and then try to sell it. We can talk about that later, but yeah.
So I was gonna add on to what Neo said for his definition, because he talked about downloading and re-uploading and selling, which is more or less a ladder of escalation in terms of how people can steal art. But either the law needs to get updated so that art theft encompasses the digital medium as well as the physical mediums, or we just need to remind ourselves that copyright infringement is a thing. And I think that's what we're really talking about here, and whether or not, what constitutes copyright infringement, rather than somebody copying and saying this was my style or I did this, and then trying to profit off of that in some way, be it notoriety, be it post interaction, be it selling, things of that nature. So this video that Neo had us all watch before we came on, and I sort of feel bad for the audience because they're kind of coming into the conversation blind here. But to summarize, it was very clickbaity in the title, and it was 21 minutes of this guy using the word stealing as many times as he possibly could when he was referring to things like tracing or borrowing of concepts. So Neo, when is that art theft in its truest form? So yeah, go ahead and take it away. Is that really art theft if you're trying to imitate somebody to learn how they do, how they have a technique, and then incorporate it into your own style?
For me personally, I don't think it really stealing. I know a few artists where I was trying to improve on drawing. I saw them some of the artwork. They can easily tell that I was influenced by certain other artists, and they really like how my style came along, even though I had like similar style to other people. So I feel like borrowing ideas from other people, type of styles, color schemes, and that stuff is not technically stealing. It pretty much you just taking a idea and just improving upon your idea. Because pretty much nothing is truly original. So as long as you keep taking from multiple choices, you're making something that is somewhat original of your own.
Okay. Red, what do you think?
I'm a big believer in that there's no such thing as an original idea. Now, I know that's kind of a controversial idea in itself. But I mean, just like music, everything has been done before. You're just putting your twist on it, your spin on it. So when it comes to art, I see a lot of people design very similar OCs. Like for mine example, it has pink and red in the hair. And that's such a common color combination. You'll see it everywhere. And so it's like I can't claim that. We can't really claim a style or claim a color palette or anything. Everything has been done before. You're just doing it in your own way.
Okay. And Alex, do you have anything you want to add or take away from that?
I like what she just said there. How with the hair colors, pink and red hair. That's obviously not something you can like copyright, but there's probably tons of other OCs out there that have that combination. But what you can do is, make the hairstyle different or make this one have a slightly different shade of pink. Like I've seen some people who have OCs that kind of by chance look like this guy's OC. Or it's in a case of where, oh my gosh, Featherbangs in My Little Pony, an official character, looks an awful lot like Mando Pony's OC, who has the same coat color, the same hair color, and the same eye color, and practically the same main color. I actually made a really funny picture a while ago for his wife, Sabrina Alberghetti, aka Sibsy, where Featherbangs is flirting with her OC. And she thinks it's him, that thinks it's Mando Pony, and she's like, "Honey, are you okay? You don't really sound like yourself today." And he's in the background, like, getting all mad. Now that right there, some people will probably argue like, "Oh, they copied Mando Pony's OC." Well, no, it's probably just by chance, or maybe possibly they were a little, inspired. I remember some people theorizing that Gabby the Griffin is like a gender bent version of Black Griffin's Griffin OC, his Griffsona, I guess, which is funny because Black Griffin's real name is Gabriel, and her name is Gabby, which is kind of the feminine version of it. You can, make whatever theories you want about that, but by chance, people will find the same colors and everything. And also, by the way, nobody ever notices this, and I didn't notice it until a while later, but my OC's colors, the dark brown and then the sort of orangish brown, as well as his hairstyle on his mane, by chance, I accidentally took it from one of the official characters. I can't remember his name. It's one of those bully characters that used to pick on Rainbow Dash. The one who's got the hair like covering his eyes.
It might have been
It's a
Hoops.
Pega. Hoops, yeah, I think it's him, the one with the basketball cutie mark.
Yep.
But the reason why he's got the same hairstyle is because I was designing my character in General Zoi's Pony Creator. I obviously took a lot of artistic liberties with him later while I was drawing him myself, and I drew the beard myself.
Mm-hmm.
So basically that means General Zoi took Hoops' hairstyle and put it in there as one of the many options for a hairstyle, and I chose with that one. He's also got Big Mac's tail. But nowadays I draw him by myself, so it's a little different, but I'm kind of surprised nobody has noticed that.
So let me
thing.
Yeah, let me interject here, because now we're getting into generations really of borrowing of concepts, right? So when you talk about Mando Pony's Pony-Sona design versus Featherbangs, and I've actually never seen them side by side, but thinking about it, I know that there are similarities. I should pull them both into Photoshop when the stream is done and see what they look like side by side. Same thing with Gabby. I never made that connection either. That'd be hilarious if that was true. But so the questions we have to ask is, how much did Mando design his character? Was it based on himself or was it based on tropes? Because musician character dealing with pop music primarily, that has a very stereotypical look to it and a very common aesthetic. So are we pulling from tropes, or are we or did the show look at Mando Pony and say we need to do that, right? Because that was long after, because Featherbangs came along long after Mando Pony designed his pony Sona long after Sabrina Alberghetti left the storyboard crew. So
Yeah.
that's certainly. And then when it comes to General Zoe, you made your pony creator on there. So did I. Way back in the day. That took a lot of the hairstyles from characters in the show. It literally just traced them and made them into assets that people could choose from. Golden Fox has the same main style as you. Not necessarily the crest as well, and yeah, the tail is very different. But so how much can we really say we're stealing from something if these concepts are tropes? You know what? Let me ask everybody that. Does it count as some kind of theft if you're borrowing something that's already a trope? Red, what do you think about all that?
So let me make sure I understand your question. When it comes to designing a character, are you saying if you've seen something similar and you design your character with a similar style to what you've seen, is that a problem? Or are you saying
is it truly original to take from tropes? I guess would be the simpler way to ask the question.
I don't think it's a problem to take from tropes, especially when it comes to adoptables. I mean, people will pull like galaxy or fire, leaves, or nature. So I don't think pulling from tropes is a problem. I think it's a great place to start in general.
I agree.
And what do you think, Neo?
Yeah, I think if I pulling from trope, because a lot of stuff on TV, like animated wise, it pulling from different movie tropes, TV show tropes, and other stuff too.
Okay, so let me ask you guys this: what if a fan came up to you? I'm sorry, were you gonna continue, Neo?
Oh, no.
That was me. Somebody in the comments here actually said Doughboy123X. I think that's Caesar Light, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's right. He was on my podcast the other day, and I just found that out. He mentioned how he says here, I can't remember if they ever openly said if Featherbangs was inspired by Justin Bieber. I think that's what it was. I think it was trope-wise. They just simply thought, well, let's make him like Justin Bieber. He sounds like Justin Bieber. He looks like Justin Bieber. And by chance, they chose the colors that make him look like Mando Pony's OC. I don't think they were copying Mando Pony. Maybe after the episode was finalized, somebody said like, oh, hey, it kind of looks like Andy Stein. Remember that guy that Sabrina married? And they were probably like, oh, darn, you're right. Well, it's too late now. But from what I understand, Mando had no problem with that. He actually joked about it when it happened a while ago on his Twitter. So
that's hilarious.
And so did Gabe. Black Griffin doesn't mind that Gabby suspiciously seems like a Rule 63 version of himself.
Little side tangent here. In Philly Vanilli, that little filly that got the puppy with the freaking accent zipper will, that father that she had walking around with her looks more like me than my own pony Sona does. So when we were watching that episode for the first time, the whole room turned to me and said, Brony, why didn't you tell us you were in the episode? So aside from that, let me ask this question. A fan comes up to you tomorrow and says, I want to be just like you. So I've been tracing your artwork, trying to figure out how. What do you think? How do you respond to that? And what are your thoughts? Let's start with Neo for this one.
I would tell them that it's okay to have a similar style, because I know, a lot of people want to have a certain type of style. Like if somebody want more like a cartoony style, they would probably try to figure out how to draw that. So they probably use me as a template at first, but they probably gonna break off and figure out to draw their own things sooner or later.
Okay, and if they don't know that that second step is something that they have to do, how do you tell that to them, Neo?
I would just let them know that it's good to branch out. it's good that you like my style, but sooner or later you have to find your own style because I know what is it. I commissioned a person in the past, and they made a new version of my character that I really loved that I wanted to use for my story.
Mhm.
And after posting that commission onto my own chat on my own DeviantArt, all of a sudden, everybody started looking at my channel for that one piece of artwork to the point that a person decided to make a 3D model of my character and send it to me.
Oh, that's pretty
So-
cool.
It was fun, and I cried for days after getting that model of the character.
Mhm.
But then I became extremely upset over the person I commissioned and kept trying to imitate their art style for years until I realized I can never imitate or get 100% to his style. I just had to figure out how to do it myself. Like, get a style that I like that's similar, but it's still my own.
Mm-hmm. And that's something of note here is because all three of you have very unique art styles that, you know, when I see something posted, it could be posted anywhere without context. Like, you know, whenever I'm browsing Derpy Boro and I see Spike round as a bowling ball with a pointy nose, I know exactly who made that. Red, what would you do in that situation? A fan comes up to you and says, "I want to be just like you." What do you tell them?
Honestly, I would give them a very honest answer and remind them that they're going down a dangerous path when you try to align everything you do with someone else's style. You lose your individuality, and eventually you're just going to merge into what that artist is, and people are going to be like, oh, you're just ripping off of that person. Like, a good example of that would be there are many animations out there that try to mimic what Jaden Animations does, and when people see that, they're like, oh, that's Jaden, you're ripping that off. Like, you want to have a sense of individuality. And it's a great learning tool to strive to be like someone and to trace their artwork in practice, but not in delivery.
Okay. And Alex, what do you think about that situation?
Well, if somebody came up to me and told me I'm going to trace your art, the first thing I'd do is punch them. No, I'm kidding.
Hey,
No.
what a coincidence. That's what Invisibrony said to do in the chat.
Yeah, no, obviously I don't promote that. If it was like a young kid who told me like, hey, do you mind, they probably would ask, do you mind if I like draw over your artwork? I promise I'll credit you, which again, I don't like it when people do that, even if they do credit me. I would just tell him, well, if you want to be just like me, don't try to do that. Be like yourself. You can. This is what I'd say. You feel free to draw in my style, and I tell the people this before. Actually, I tell them it's a lot better if you draw your own thing, and if you trace over someone else's, even if your art is bad, because they're going to give that excuse. They'll be like, "But I'm a bad artist. I need to trace." Oh, if you're going to trace, don't upload it publicly. Trace and trace until you finally can do it by hand without tracing, and then just show us your art anyway. And yeah, it might look terrible, it might look like an 8-year-old drew it. It doesn't matter though. It's better to draw like that than to trace. But I always tell people that just do it anyway. I don't like you're not going to find me coming in there saying, oh, this looks terrible, because I wouldn't do that. Yeah, some people probably will come and do that, although they tend to go after people who want to troll online, tend to go after like bigger artists usually.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd want to handle a fan appropriately when that happens and tell them, like, just do your own thing. It's perfectly fine if you don't consider yourself an artist right now. Just keep drawing, and one day you will be good. Because, like, I mean, when I was your age, I probably was worse, actually. Who knows? Like, I might be able to find somebody online and tell them, like, 15, I couldn't even draw this good when I was that age, like... So obviously handle people the right way. Don't be mean, just try to encourage them to do it the right way and get used to that. Because if you're a person who's going to re-upload art or trace art or recolor, you're going to get in trouble because the pictures are going to get removed. Could get suspended from the site. I think there's rules for that on DeviantArt, or you're just going to get people to hate you because they're just going to keep seeing that you do that, and they're gonna constantly remind you, like, hey, stop. And some people don't take it very well either. Some people are, like I said, are really immature and they just like mock you, or they'll respond by swearing at you or something.
Yeah, and I've seen that before. There was another artist that I invited onto the show tonight, and she decided not to come on. But you know, I've been friends with her for a long time, and she's told me numerous stories of people stealing her style or witnessing other people stealing the style of somebody else. So how much is style theft an actual thing? Alex, what do you think about that?
Oh boy, this is one of those isn't black or white type things.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I've seen people draw in my style before, but they'll say in the credits of the picture, like in the bio description or whatever, like this was inspired by Aleximus Prime's style, or I decided to draw a little cute, chubby chibi pony like Aleximus Prime. I'm okay with that because I can tell, well, they drew this themselves. They just shaped the head perfectly round. They made the nose kind of like circular, and the smile looks like mine and all that. And they're kind of like scaled down and chubbier looking and everything. I'm fine with that. I actually love when people do that. When I developed that style back in late 2012, I actually had seen other people draw like a specific way. Can't remember the names of all the artists, but like the way I draw hooves when they're being lifted off the ground, they look like two circles like stuck together.
Mm-hmm.
That pretty much, it's mostly me, but I've seen people draw hooves like that. It's, you know, I kind of make it look like it's my own thing, but I was inspired by, you know, a bunch of artists, you know, the chibi style, drawing ponies like that. I mean, fillies and colts kind of look like that anyway, so when I draw like a grown-up looking pony, they might actually look like a filly or a colt. There's nothing wrong with, you know, quote-unquote borrowing someone's style. And I think an artist who goes after someone like that is usually probably really selfish themselves. Like, hey, I invented the style, don't do that. That's probably somebody who's more mature than the person borrowing the style to begin with.
Yeah, and I invented oil on canvas while we're at it.
Yeah.
So there, you know, there's my 2 cents on that topic of whether or not style theft is a thing. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, like, trying to think of an example where it would be a lot less of an excuse.
Careful with your mic there, Alex.
Mike?
Yeah, you were tapping something and it was coming through real loud. Anyway, why don't you think about that for a minute? We'll put a pin in that because I want to hear what Red thinks about the concept of style theft.
That is such a gray area.
I'm tired of y'all agreeing with each other. Someone throw a chair, gosh darn it.
Style can come down to so many things. It could come down to hooves, ears, eyes, nose, even the way you draw cutie marks. I mean, style is so subjective. But I think we can all agree that when we go online, we can see there's a difference between my style, Ember's Lanet style, Scarlet Spectrum style, Alex's style, Neo style. You know, you see a prominent difference, and there is a way to mimic it to a point where it's like, okay, now hold on. Even the comic artists in the My Little Pony comics have a very specific style to them. Have you guys noticed the way they shade is different than the show, the way they draw manes, or even the perspective? So style is so tricky, and developing one takes years and years. It's not something that's just, boom, I have a style. And I think that's why learning art can be so frustrating, and developing a style takes so much time. So I guess the point I'm trying to say is style theft does exist, but it is very hard to pin it down when you get down to the nitty-gritty.
Okay. Neo, do you have anything you'd like to add or take away from what these two have said?
I would just add on saying the same thing. It's hard to imitate or copy somebody's style because mainly, like, if one artist may have a more, let's see, sketchier line compared to other artists, one can be using more like smooth lines. So it's definitely hard to like copy a style. You can learn how somebody did a style, but that still take time, and you really have to be good at art in the first place to understand exactly what's going on with the artwork to break it down.
Right, and that's where I see things like tutorials coming into play. And I know that there's an audience for that kind of thing, both on YouTube as well as DeviantArt and Tumblr. I see a lot of people. Like, shoot, as soon as I posted this stream, and I think it has something to do with like a Tumblr algorithm of some kind, like YouTube. But as soon as I posted this stream to Tumblr, the next thing to pop up was a tutorial on how to do like certain kinds of faces and hand gestures. As with the notes and examples and everything. So let's confess to our crimes at this moment here. So as you've been developing your own styles as artists, who did you take inspiration from, and who did you try to copy in a sense of learning how to do certain techniques? Neo, do you have any stories like that?
Like I say, that one guy, after doing that commission and getting that statue made, I became so obsessed to the point that I did somewhat trace one drawing very closely because I really loved the pose of it. And I kept trying to break it down constantly. I got close to it, but then it always be slightly off.
Mm-hmm.
I realized after looking more closely to it, I like, you know what? I'm not using the same brush style. I can never figure out what brush style he's using. So yeah, I became obsessed with that for a while.
Right. So what did you take away from that then? What aside from the moral of the story of nobody can do you better than yourself? What did you learn anything from a technical aspect out of that experience?
Well, I did improve on head shapes, other stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty then. Red, how about you? Do you have any like who did you steal from while learning your own style and designing yourself?
Okay, so when I first started drawing, I took a lot of inspiration from two different artists. One of them was named Rito Pikafube. I know that's a mouthful. I'll have to link her Instagram later. And another one is Cat Pensive. I'm not sure if she still posts anymore. I took a lot of my ear shape, leg shape from them.
Mm-hmm.
But now, as I'm more developed and more confident in my art, I see that I take a lot more inspiration from the My Little Pony movie style, just because I love the way they drew the limbs and fleshed out the wings and the eyes and the ears. So that's really what I shoot for these days. But I think when I first started, those were the two artists that truly inspired me.
Alrighty then. And Aleximus, who made you decide to take your characters to Burger King 3 times a day? That's mean, Brony. Why would you say that?
You're talking just about my OC, which for those listening, my OC is the big fat brown one in the middle.
Right, but it's you do have, that is a very distinct style that you have. Is your ponies are all very round. So did you copy anyone, so to speak, as you were developing your own style?
Not as I was developing my style, but like I said, I just kind of had seen like loads of pictures over time of like kind of cuter looking, scaled down, kind of more bubbly looking versions of the characters.
Right. So you actually look very show style to me. So I would have guessed that you were somewhere between chibi and show style. Or is that accurate?
Yeah. Well, it's heavily influenced by the show style. When I do things in my style, they are more bubbly looking. Their head is round, their nose is round. Although I draw colts with like a kind of like it goes out, and then there's like a corner, like a sort of sharp corner, and then it goes around like ground down to where the lips are, but it's more like an elongated sort of snout. However, you did say confess to your crimes earlier. Well, it's not a crime necessarily, but everyone knows this because I've outright admitted it. But I also draw in show style. And a lot of those pictures, like if you look through my gallery, are definitely show style. And some of them have actually been traced, but I've reused all the different assets from the characters over time to a point where it looks like, no, it wasn't traced, just the snout of this character is traced, because I could never get like show accurate snouts to look right when they're like frowning from the 3/4 angle or whatever. But those pictures I don't sell as prints. I always like to have my prints I'm selling in my style. If they are in show style, it's like I drew it myself, but I was looking at official vectors from the show. But I do draw in show style a lot now, because I've got like vector assets. I've got in so many different pictures that I just copy and paste and move things over to. Those pictures I tend to have going like what's the word I'm trying to look for? They're basically representing like a character or an event from one of my fanfics. And for whatever reason, I prefer to draw those in show style because I want for people to feel like they're watching the show when they're reading my fanfics, because the fanfics I'm writing are pretty much meant to be like, what if the show continued? That's where my Flurry Heart story fanfiction comes in. Otherwise, I can draw in my own style just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like my most recent picture is called 10 Years of Friendship, and it's a print actually from my Patreon supporters this month. It just shows Twilight and the other main five using the elements for the first time, and it's like kind of dark around them, but there's light shining from their eyes. That was completely drawn by me. Like everything in there pretty much is drawn by me, although I might have taken assets from show accurate vectors like Rainbow Dash's mane or Pinkie Pie's tail, but I warped them around a little so they look different. So it's not really drawing, it's just taking the direct select tool and, moving the Bezier curve or whatever it's called around. Vector artists will know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
You move the lines around until it looks more like the sketch you did on paper, which is how I do it. And so it doesn't look like it's totally right from the show. So yeah, there's ways to get it looking how you want to, rather than making it look like it's a direct, copy.
Indeed. So this is where I have to confess here, because I may very well be the biggest art thief on this panel. Because like so I need you guys to tell me exactly how bad I am and how wrong I am if I am wrong. So like my Pony Sona that you're seeing there, that's a recolored DHX puppet. All of the other puppets I use on my show are recolored DHX puppets that have been traced. Every time I do a video and there's a prop, that prop was taken off of Google Images, usually by searching for the item plus clip art if it's not directly from the show itself. Other people have always made the backgrounds and then I find them on DeviantArt or something of the nature. There have been times where I've needed to make poses for comics, and I will find the base and I will recolor the heck out of that base. I had, like, when I was first getting started, the only Photoshop I knew was how to retouch photos in a modeling context. So I, completely relearned Photoshop for the vector tool and to trace over and recolor bases. The caveat that I sort of give myself is that there is always a credit. In a way that you, like, if you really don't know who made the background that I used, you can copy and paste the source that's listed somewhere. Like if it's a comic, it's on Tumblr, it's in the description. If it's a YouTube video, it's in the credits scroll at the end. You can always copy that into Google and it should take you directly to the image. So that's my form of art theft, because I am very limited in what I can create by myself. So I'll just open the floor for this one. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about how I handle my own content creation?
You remind me of a video. You know Anthony C, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he made a video a couple years ago called All About That Drama, and it was a in-depth look at the I Heart Kim Possible scandal. And one of the topics he heavily addressed was using DHX puppets and Hasbro assets, and if it was a problem or not. And he kind of left it open-ended at the end. He never really gave a full answer.
Oh, that coward.
That's Anthony for you. But, you know, at the end of the day, it is open. Because Hasbro has only gone after some creators. You know, they've gone after... who's the one who made Button Mash?
Jan Animations. And from what I understand, you're not allowed to get too big.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, it's a tricky one. Because, like, why have they not gone after my shop? Or why have they not gone after Aleximus? So, I don't know. It's so open-ended, and it's really up to Hasbro how they want to handle it. I personally see it as if Hasbro is going to crack the whip, if they're going to slam their hand down, then I guess that would be technically art theft. But being they're allowing the majority of the fandom to go to these cons and sell merchandise of their characters, they don't seem to mind too much. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing is, there probably is a lot of illegality happening at these conventions that I don't know about. But I think it is pretty much technically illegal to, say, draw a picture of Superman that you drew completely by yourself. You didn't, like, trace or anything, and sell it as a print online or at a convention. That is, if you think about it, technically illegal. But unless you do get huge, the company, DC in this case, isn't going to come after you. Hasbro went after Jan, though, because his animation looked like it came straight from the show. And they probably thought, well, their lawyers, apparently Hasbro didn't even know it happened. Their lawyers were the ones that did it. They pretty much, I guess, thought, because the lawyers probably don't understand the show or anything, but they thought, hey, is this from the show? Oh, wait, no, this guy from Italy did it. Hey, how did he make this look so much like the show? Hey, this is kind of dangerous. He could start acting like he owns the show. We need to send him a C&D. You know, so it's happened to Jan. It happened to Fighting His Magic. And with them, it might have happened because Hasbro thought, now people are going to think My Little Pony is a violent, kids cartoon, which it's not. So that could be the reason. But
I mean, there were fist fights in the very first episode and in several of the closers.
Yeah, true. Yeah, not to mention Twilight versus T-Rex was basically like a shortened Dragon Ball Z fight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and to play devil's advocate, I remember you said, Hasbro doesn't want you getting too big, but I look at things like Lullaby for a Princess, or what's the one where the kids are floating with Princess Luna?
Children of the Night.
Yeah.
What was it?
Children of the Night.
Yeah, both of those have tens of millions of views, and Hasbro hasn't taken them down.
Well,
so
Duo Cartoonist had a pretty distinctive style, and was also using music that the music, I think, played a big part in that as well. It wasn't their music.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah, somebody, by the way, I was going to mention this. Doughboy, Caesar Light down here said, what I heard Fighting His Magic was going well until it was showed off at EVO. That was the no-no for Hasbro. I think that's the reason, too. I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Because after that, like a month later, was when Hasbro sent the C&D, and they told everybody, and people cried everywhere. That was such a horrible day for the fandom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, Neo, I haven't heard from you in a bit. What do you think?
Yeah, I have to agree with them both. It like a lot of gray areas. You pretty much shouldn't have saved because you're not that big of a person and all that stuff.
Right. So, that could lead us into the question of tracing and referencing in general. Is there a difference between tracing and referencing? Because I've known art teachers that hate referencing. That if you use references, you're a cheater. If you can't just look at something and then recreate it from memory, it's cheating. By the same token, Disney animated most of Snow White by first filming everything that was, a bunch of the different parts, and then tracing over that, and then a lot of those animations were recycled for decades in many of their other animated films. So where do we stand on that, Neo?
I missed part of it, boy. Sorry, somebody started calling me.
Okay, so that takes us into tracing. Some people think it's cheating to not be able to draw something from memory. But then you've got places like Disney that did most of their top tier animation by tracing. What do you think?
So far, for referencing part, referencing is pretty much perfectly fine because a lot of people cannot just imagine know exactly how they want the pose to be. So referencing, I can see perfectly fine. I know I do that a lot if I don't know how to do a pose with a weapon or a special pose of a flying person. So tracing,
yeah, go ahead.
Tracing, similar thing. I would say tracing to get the basic layout is pretty good. I won't go like full on tracing like every single detail, but tracing to get like the form that you want and then putting your own style or change up the pose a little bit, it should be perfectly fine.
Red, what do you think?
I am an art thief. I learned to draw Pokemon by tracing Pokemon. That was what my first genre. I actually didn't start with ponies. I traced humans. I traced different. What I would do is pull up anime characters and then change what they were wearing and change their facial expression by tracing. So I am absolutely guilty of that and post it as my own. And, many of the poses of the Pokemon were recognizable because they were either in the game or in the show or in basic stock images. So it's not like it was like sketchy or trying to be hidden. But the better you get, the easier it is not to do that. Obviously, I didn't do the right thing, and that was kind of it wasn't the most honest thing, but that is how I learned. And sometimes I do trace things, like I'll draw a pony, but I don't know how to draw the cap quite right on their head, so I'll pull a piece of clip art and trace the cap and slap it on the pony. And I know many people are like, oh, no, you still clip art, but that's personally how I do things, and I don't see a problem with it. So that's kind of where I stand.
And Alex, what do you think?
Well, it really is hard to determine exactly where. Brony, you said earlier you've heard art teachers say that referencing is cheating and stuff. Well, those are some terrible art teachers right there, because how on earth did we ever get figure drawing be a thing? That's literally staring at a human standing on stage and trying to draw what you're seeing. That literally is referencing. So I don't know where you went to school, but those are some crazy professors.
Well, I didn't go to art school, but I have taken art classes, if that makes any sense. Okay. I was never any good at them. I never took any that were outside of high school. Once I hit junior in high school, everything was photography after that. So my guess is that they came from a long, closed-minded tradition of abstractism and trying to memorize things.
Probably, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, I really don't think there's anything wrong with referencing. I usually, whenever I'm drawing human characters, have to reference things. So I save pinups and everything I find on DeviantArt that I think look good enough in my folder. If I really feel discouraged enough, I look at it because I probably am telling myself, okay, I really cannot draw this hand because I suck at drawing human hands. So I will find picture of a hand, or I'll use this little hand mannequin hand that I got from Hobby Lobby a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's in the case of, something else like drawing the shape of the body or the movement of the body and everything, I'll look at another picture. It will be pretty similar, but I will still put my own twist on it. Like, it might be posed like this, but their arms might be in a different position. Their leg might be lifted up slightly and their head might be turned the other way, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've had quite a few pictures I've heavily referenced, but nobody notices, and that's because I didn't trace.
Right.
I just had to reference them.
So here's it. I got one more question I want to ask, and then I want to bring up a topic real quick. So, goodness, what was the? Oh yeah, I have seen people claim that you are stealing art if you draw fan art of their character. For example, I've seen one YouTube content creator get very mad when people drew their avatar and changed aspects of the body to match their style, right? And they were very particular about the way they designed their avatar's body. And anything that slightly deviated from that was offensive and therefore art theft. What do we think about that?
Boy.
Yeah, let's I'll just open the floor for that one. Who wants to dive on that landmine first?
I'll go.
Do it.
Well, as you all know, my pony is very fat.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen some people draw fan art of him where he's not quite as fat, and sometimes it might be like, that's practically unrecognizable. It looks like I'm on a huge diet and started exercising, and then 5 years later he looks like this.
Yeah.
But I don't care if people do that. I actually commissioned somebody recently who drew him thin, and I didn't tell them to draw him thin. They did draw him thin because that's kind of their style and everything. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, that's fine. Obviously people can get particular about things like that, but you can't really stop people from drawing those things. And if you're going to tell them, how dare you draw this character thin when they're supposed to be fat, or Steven Universe fandom, sorry. But, yeah, that's just one example. And that's not a example of people getting mad about their OCs being drawn. But like I said, you can't stop people from drawing them a certain way. If you get all mad that they're drawing them a certain way, what happens when somebody draws, revenge porn or whatever of your OC? Right. Then what are you going to, you can't stop them. They're just going to keep doing it because you tell them not to. So just don't get angry.
For me, nobody can seem to decide if I'm brown or red. And I've gotten a fair amount of fan art over the years, and I'm always a different color from what I actually am, and I find it hilarious. And then occasionally somebody forgets that I wear a blazer. That's not a very integral part of my whole character and design. So yeah, it happens, but I couldn't imagine being anything but grateful that somebody thought you deemed you worthy of that kind of effort in the first place. That's an honor. And when I've seen people get mad about their OC getting drawn differently in fan art, I just want to shake that person. How about Neo? Do you have any thoughts on that kind of situation?
So far, I have a few art of my character from other people. All of them look completely different. Some have more bluer hair, some have more lighter blue hair. And I had to say, everybody had their own unique style, so it's just up to how they want to represent your character. Even if they change up the proportion of the body, change how the color of the skins may look, it's just how they want to do that type of character for their design or fan art.
Mm-hmm. All right, and Red, do you have any thoughts?
I think that's such a loud minority of people, the ones who read because it's not quite the right color or the right shape. I just don't see it enough to believe that most people wouldn't be ever so grateful to receive fan art. I know everybody in this chat here sheds a tear when we get something on Twitter, DeviantArt, Instagram. So I definitely think it is a loud minority. Most people are honored to get artwork of their character, no matter how it's drawn. Now, when you get into the pornography side, that's a whole different thing, but that's a chat for another day.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had people come up to me and ask me if they can do fan art, and all I can tell them is I can't stop you. And thank God nobody has drawn me in any sort of compromising situation, because I definitely wouldn't appreciate that as much as I've appreciated all the other fan art that I've got. But listen, I can't stop you. It was my choice to get on the internet, and at the end of the day, people are gonna do with their image of me whatever they see fit. Alex, you were about to say something.
I was. Well, I think I almost was going to say, you said, I hope no one's drawn my OC in a compromising position. I have seen somebody draw mine like that before. I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, geez. That's unfortunate. So let's see here. Let's drop the bomb, right? And because our resident troll Pony Cordero came in the chat about 30 minutes ago, and referenced it here. But he said, if only, gosh, can you imagine a beloved and well-recognized artist in the Brony fandom being outed for tracing art? Draw ponies! Let's talk about draw ponies. What do we think about draw ponies? And I forgot what he rebranded to. Yeah, let's hear from Red on this.
I don't have a lot to say about this because I didn't follow it as closely as other scandals, so I'll take a pass and let you guys take the lead on this one.
All right, Alex, I know you got some knowledge to drop on us.
Yeah, well, I used to be a follower of his. Well, I actually am still following him on DeviantArt. I just unfollowed his YouTube, which I'll explain in a minute. But basically, back in 2015, he got, busted for tracing show art and selling the work. See, that's where it gets worse. Tons of people have traced the show style for their accurate vectors and everything on DeviantArt, but when you sell the artwork, that's when people have a problem with it. And he got banned from all these conventions, and somehow was able to come back to them. But basically, because he was selling them, that's where people had a problem. And he did actually have quite a lot of art where it was drawn his own style, and his own style he used to draw ponies and was really cute. Actually had these events at conventions where he would show people a camera of him drawing on paper. It was really cool. I wish he would have just kept doing that. But anyways, selling show accurate artwork, and people found out he was tracing because they saw it in a live stream, which that was pretty dumb. But anyways, there's tons of other things that have been happening with him. He's doing furry art now, or at least he's.
Can I stop you right there for just a second? Because I want to, before you get into the second half of this, I want to say that, from what I understood when I followed the situation back those 5 years ago, he handled it in, as far as I could tell, the best way possible. He stepped down from everything he was doing. He apologized for the tracing and said he wasn't going to trace anymore. And then, from what we gave the reason that he was tracing, and said, "Oh, okay, I understand that it was wrong for me to do this. Now I'm just not going to do it anymore." And then, from what I understand, kept that promise. But you dropped a knowledge bomb on me right before the stream here that a new issue has arisen with him. Now resume.
Oh, this is where it gets outside of Art Thief. Basically, now he's running a micro business called Artwork Tea, which is pretty much his new name. He doesn't go by Draw Ponies anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I watched a video yesterday about this, and I didn't know these things, but I guess his new business practices are just kind of getting shady. People who were letting him sell their artwork now walking away and trying to form their own business, and they say Artwork T doesn't have good business practices, and it's like really suspicious and everything. His YouTube channel, and again, this is off topic, but his YouTube channel has also been very like clickbaity lately. It's like at one point it was trying to like have free audiobooks as the videos, which are now deleted. Now it's gone over to completely compiling like animatics of that fans have made of Has Been Hotel shorts, not official, but they're like fan made, and they use like voiceovers from the official voice actors. Somebody made an animation. It just kind of seems really weird and kind of shady. Like Neil did seem like a pretty nice guy back when I was speaking to him sometimes in like 2013 and 2014.
Mm-hmm.
But oh, and this is a little on topic. I actually drew my OC in his style once. It was really cute. And there's an example of where you can draw your art in somebody's style. And it's perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it goes more into like the realm of like his business has been kind of weird lately, and there's a lot of people in the furry fandom who've been talking about this, and I just kind of worry that he's doing something else.
Well,
but yeah,
Neil had a similar problem back in the day too. Is roughly when the tracing thing came out. It was one of those things where the dam broke and everything that could have been related to him was coming out. And one of the common ones was that he would be at conventions and sending out people to actively draw away from other people's booths to come to his. Now, I never... Here's the thing. I have no reason to believe that somebody wouldn't do that, but I also never saw any definitive proof that he did. All I know, he was at the Grand Brony Gala for two of those years, and I don't think we had any problems with him there, and he was very easy to work with. But that's just been mine. If other people had a different experience, I'm certainly not going to discount that.
Yeah, I heard about that too, but everything seemed fine when he was selling like a couple yards away from my table at BronyCon 2018. That could have been the case in the past. That's what I heard from another artist friend of mine.
I didn't know he was there. I was there at BronyCon 2018. I didn't see him, and he's very recognizable.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know he was going to be there, but yeah, he was there. Maybe it was another convention, I don't know, but I do remember, I think at BronyCon 2018, that was the only BronyCon I saw that.
And Neo, you've been quiet. Do you have any thoughts on this you want to share?
None really. I had to look it up and figure out who Artwork Team. I know that sounds familiar, and then when I look at it, I'm like, oh, this guy.
Alrighty then. So that was all I wanted to talk about. Does anybody have anything they want to add to the conversation before we move on to the audience participation segment?
I think a good topic to go over real quick is accidental art theft. I know we briefly touched on this, but I think it's
might fall under the umbrella of tropes, but go ahead.
So I'll give an example. I want to say almost 2 years ago, I did a drawing of Ocellus that I had saw an image from the Pony fighting game. What was it called? Was it Fighting is Magic?
I suppose so, but they only had the main 6 of the characters. Like, they never added Ocellus into that, but...
So I saw one of the ponies in there in a specific pose that I wanted to draw Ocellus in.
Okay.
And I drew Ocellus and posted it, and someone linked in the comments a exact pose of a changeling that Ocellus was in. And they're like, hey, you copied from this artist. And I had never even seen this artist before then, and I was like, I don't know who they are. And I feel like that happens more often than we realize. Like we said before, there is no really original pose, no original character. Same ideas are going to be done all the time, and I think that's why we need to be more forgiving when artists accidentally step on each other's toes. Most of the time, it's not intentional.
All right, good to know. So if there's nothing else, we've got a couple of questions from the chat tonight. So if this happens to be your first time tuning in, which all the names in the chat tonight are pretty familiar, so I'm not sure, but I've been reading the chat throughout the whole time, and if anybody had an interesting comment or a good question that they wanted to ask of the panel, I copied it down and saved it for this very moment. So the first one is from Kenzie Hope Ann. And I'm assuming she wants to know, how often do you think real art theft happens in the entertainment industry? We'll just leave the floor open for this for, whoever wants to jump on it first. And the crickets answer, I think it happens quite a bit. And then somebody starts talking right as I start talking. Basically, anytime. So here's something I know happens a lot: is you go into a pitch meeting, which is a chore and a half to schedule in the first place. And then you pitch your idea, and they'll say something along the lines of, "We really like this idea. Leave us the script so we can give it to the other people who were on this panel of judges for this pitch meeting but couldn't make it today," right? And they will take that script and they will dress it down and change as much as possible while keeping it the same. And you will never get a call back, and they will forget you ever existed, and it will become the next hit show on HBO.
That's what I heard happened with Pirates of the Caribbean, apparently. I don't know any more about that.
I haven't heard that story.
Apparently somebody pitched the idea for making a movie out of the Pirates of the Caribbean Which is what it started as, I think. And then, I guess they were never contacted, and Disney just simply said, yeah, we'll make this into a movie, and I don't think they were even credited or something. That's what I heard. Yeah.
Well, there's a huge problem with writers in Hollywood being credited and paid for what they've done. And usually what you see on the screen is especially if it's not something based on a pre-existing intellectual property, is a horrible bastardization of whatever the original story was. Does anybody want to add to what we're talking about here?
Well, Brony, can you give an example of something where that happens? Actually, I'm curious to know what you have on.
It's I couldn't give a specific example, and I've never been through it myself.
I don't think I.
But if I have worked in the entertainment industry for a little bit, and some might say I still do, and I hear about it happening all the time. I'm trying to remember examples, but it's a common knowledge. It's one of those kind of common knowledge things, and thus when you're taking an idea to a pitch meeting, there's certain things that both you and the executives do to protect yourselves from getting your idea stolen, and from ending up in a lawsuit because somebody thinks you stole their idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's tons of examples of it happening in the entertainment industry. For example, Ice Baby takes, a lot of the music from Under Pressure by Queen, that's like straight from it. It's practically, they just copied it almost.
Well, here's the thing is there was nothing wrong with the fact that he sampled, and I remember hearing that Freddie Mercury himself was okay with the fact, or David Bowie, whoever was in charge of that instrumental, was okay with the fact that he sampled it. But it was when Vanilla Ice tried to turn around and say, nah, I wrote that, it was a coincidence, and the whole world collectively rolled their eyes so hard that it fell out.
Yeah, I don't know how long Ice Baby's been around, but if it was around before Freddie Mercury died, I don't know if Freddie would have, because it was by Queen, so it would have been Freddie Mercury saying that. Yeah,
I know that's Freddie on the vocals. alongside with David Bowie.
Oh wait, I forgot that David Bowie was in the song. Yeah, but I mean, like when he reacted to somebody making a song that had the audio sampled.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember when Freddie Mercury died. I think it was like
Will Smith made a whole career out of sampling music.
Really?
There's very few songs that Will Smith did that weren't sampled, especially in his early work.
Jeez.
Yeah. Let's see. There's also MC Hammer with who sampled Rick James, who sampled The Temptations.
Oh, it came from The Temptations first.
Yeah. You Can't Touch This was a sample of Rick James's Super Freak, and Super Freak took a lot of influence, as well as collaborated vocally with The Temptations, who were an older band. It sounded like Red was going to say something for a second. What's up?
If you want to see a really good example of this, YouTube Seth Everman, what is the name of this song? You will see how easy it is for these artists to overlap each other. Some intentionally do it, some don't.
Yep, I do know there was a court case. A guy, his own record label sued him for copyright infringement of his own song. And he went into the court with a guitar and played the two songs that were both by him to show that they not only were they different, but also to make the argument that you can't infringe copyright on yourself. So I thought that was hilarious. Neo, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Not really. The only thing that keep popping in mind was that time when, Disney and Pixar, I think came out with the same movie. Not the same movie, but same themes about ants. It was Bug Life and Ant Z.
Ants and Bug Life, similar concepts. Ants beat Bug Life to the box office, if I remember correctly, and that was DreamWorks. DreamWorks. Yeah, and DreamWorks, especially at the time, was in a huge feud with Disney, because the dude that founded DreamWorks, or left to work for DreamWorks and become the head of all their animation, worked with Disney and had huge beef against them, and then that beef became the inspiration for the movie Shrek and doomed us all.
Revenge.
What? Yeah. Shrek. Disney wanted to make Shrek for that reason.
Yep. Let's see here. Paladin Pony T wants to know, Brony Buck, is using a picture or image that fits your story bad? Like, does that count as art theft? Gosh, that's an interesting question. So I'm assuming that Paladin is referring to. So let's say he uploaded something to fanfiction.net or fimfiction.net, and to get a cover art for this story, he found another really good picture on Derpyboro, and he downloaded that so that he could upload it as the thumbnail for his story. I would say do what I do. Make sure you say, this is where I got the cover art from, and you just directly link to wherever you found it from, as well as the artist's homepage, whichever they prefer. And whenever, so I always list the direct source myself, and I credit it in such a way that if you were to Google search. If you were to copy what I wrote down into a Google search, then it would take you straight there. So does anybody disagree with what I'm saying here?
No, but I'm good. I'm just gonna go use the bathroom real quick. You guys don't mind?
Okay. Sure. Go for it.
Yeah, I gotta go real quick.
Yeah, but I do want to hear your story when you get on the next question when you get back. So be quick. Let's see here, because Invisibrony wants to know, Red Palette as well as the rest of us, what's the worst case of art theft that you've ever seen? Let's start with Red for this one.
Should I explain my personal experience or that I've just flat out seen?
Give us one of each, actually. Start with your own experience. What so it sounds like somebody has stolen your artwork.
Yeah, I had someone back in 2017 screenshot many of my images and literally digitally draw over them and claim them as their own. I reached out to them. They blocked me. Reached out to them again on a different account. They blocked me. Had other people try to reach out to them. They got hostile. The same old. We've all seen it. So, because my business has a physical address and I'm registered with the state and I have a website and all these different things, I just literally went to Instagram and said, hey, I'm a business. These people literally stole my stuff. Here's my copyright. And they, boom, took it down just like that. So that was a nice perk. But for artists who just kind of freelance it on the side and don't get so involved, it probably would have been more of a fiasco. So I got lucky in that case. But I would say probably some of the worst I've seen. I follow an artist named Scarlet Spectrum quite closely. I really enjoy her art and commission her every once in a while. And she does these fantastic YCH bases that you can buy. And people just flat out steal them and try to sell them. And it blows my mind.
And did she have a very distinct style?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I've never heard this name before myself. But like I said, if any of you three draw something and it ends up on another platform, like say you're primarily on DeviantArt and it ends up on Derpyboro, and if I click on it and the source says, artist source needed, then I'm still gonna know exactly who it is. If it's any of you three, as well as a good majority of the people that I follow, with the exception of Assassin Monkey and Husi, but I don't even think Husi makes art anymore, which is a darn shame. But anyway, you were gonna say something, Neo?
That was me.
Oh, okay. So. Yeah, so Neo, what is the worst case of art theft you've ever seen?
In one of my Telegram groups, the one for where I live at, we had a problem a few months ago with a person who made another Telegram account and started posting everybody character as a free to download character. And one person in our group were extremely upset because they put the whole collection of his characters on there for somebody to just stay.
Was there ever a solution to that? What happened?
Pretty much the group and other groups decided to just team up and just tell people, hey, stay away from this. And I'm not sure what fully happened, but it seemed like they got rid of the Telegram group.
In my experience, what happens in that case is everybody learns their game and they fade into obscurity. And anything they could have hoped to gain from that vanishes with it. Aleximus, what's the worst case of art theft that you've ever seen?
Well, recently, I think like a year ago, I think Aaron Carter. Yeah, hard to believe he's still relevant.
Well, he's the host on Masked Singer.
He is?
What?
Yeah.
I don't watch that. So, anyways, apparently.
Oh no! Wait, no. That's Nick Cannon. Pardon me. I'm an idiot. Go ahead.
Very skin color. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, Aaron Carter, I guess directly, like he didn't just like trace or like use the style or whatever. He actually copied someone's art onto like his new album or something, and they threw like everyone on Twitter into like a huge like storm about like he's stealing his art, and it was totally being stolen. Like everybody was talking about it, and the artist like was making tweets about it. Like Aaron Carter took my artwork. I did not allow him to put that on his album cover, and Aaron Carter was not handling it well. He was like a idiot 12-year-old who didn't understand artwork. I know I said that earlier about someone else, but for real, he didn't. He kept saying like, "Well, I'm just like," what did he say? Like, "I'm just helping you out, bro. Like, I'm showing the world your artwork. Who cares if I'm making money off of it? Like, I can do what I want." Like, it was just such immature. Like, it's such an immature way to react. You know, it's like spoiled, rich celebrity taking advantage of the plebs. You know, very typical. So stupid.
I think I do remember this story. Didn't he try to print stuff on shirts as well?
I think that's what it was. It might have been that instead of the CD cover, but he stole art somehow, and it was like blatantly criminal. He was not handling it well. He was being a tiny little you-know-what about it.
Pony Cordero has 2 comments here that I thought were interesting. He says, going back to when we were talking about art teachers and referencing, he says, my limited experience with art school professors and students had them preaching against referencing as well. So yeah, it does seem to be a culture or a debate within the artist community. I don't know how much experience you 3 have had with that kind of thing. But he also said, I once dropped into a Steven Universe art group and offered $50 for a skinny rose quartz.
Oh no!
Yeah, because there's nothing funnier than an angry Steven Universe fan.
Bruh. Awesome.
Alrighty. Paladin Pony T says, Brawny Buck and friends, is there any art that you would like to make but can't?
Animation. Because I just never get into it.
It's probably one of the hardest of the artistic mediums.
Yeah. Mostly because I'm so lazy about trying to dabble in it. I had a talk with Black Griffin about this recently, that there are, tutorials and everything. I just it's just something I feel like I just really can't get into right now. Everything else, if I had time, maybe, but
yeah, I occasionally try to learn animate, and because I use animate to make all of the poses that I use for my comics and videos, and I spend about 3/4 of my time in animate going, not that freaking layer.
Yeah, I've been there.
No, gosh darn it, why did you move the anchor point? I didn't want the anchor point there.
Oh, it happens all the time.
Right, and apparently if you're going to animate, the thing to do is to not use Adobe Animate in the first place. But I don't know how to use anything else. So maybe I'll figure it out someday.
Does Adobe Animate what Flash has been rebranded to? Or
yes, it used to be Flash.
Oh, so they're just calling it Animate now.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Which
I still have Flash on my computer, and it's still called that because I haven't updated it. It's like from 2012 or something. And I was never taught Flash, even though it was on the computers in my school. So that's part of the reason why I just never get into it.
I think Flash really became popular in 2010 when like half of the shows animated on the hub were animated with Flash in ways that were really pushing the boundaries of what Flash could do. Because before that, nobody wanted to use Flash for anything, and I don't know, and to this day they still don't. from what I get from talking to other animators, but they were like, holy frick, that was Flash. Dan Versus was Flash. Ponies was Flash. Pet Shops was Flash. Yeah, it's that kind of thing.
Puppies, I'm assuming, was also Flash. Definitely looked like it.
Yeah, well, it was the same studio. Let's see here. Aaron Lopez says, Brawny, have you heard of Midnight Mares? It's an MLP-inspired project, and Kickstarter just launched. They got a trailer by Duo Cartoonists. Wow, I thought Duo Cartoonists retired themselves. No, I have not heard of that. Has anybody else heard of that? I know Alex just said in the chat that you've heard of it.
Of Children of the Night, Duo Cartoonists?
Midnight Mares. Yes, and Duo Cartoonists also did Children of the Night.
Yeah, well, Midnight Mares has been in the works for quite a few years now. I think like around 5, and it's definitely still happening because they've been posting videos with like a little promo of a voice actor saying which character they're doing. We've made like about, I think, like 5 to 10 of them right now, so it definitely looks like it's still happening. I'm anxious to see what it's like.
Cool. Super Planet says anyone using others' art to work to put in their own DeviantArt gallery is not cool. It just goes to show that some people don't want to put in the effort. And then he asks if you agree with him, Alex.
Yes, because like I said earlier, that happened to me recently, and I reported the art, and you're not allowed to do that on DeviantArt. And like, if someone posts it on Twitter and credits me, that's okay. It's like, I don't know, like with Twitter, like that's not really an art website, and you can like repost your artwork anyway. Whereas on DeviantArt, you only want to do it once.
Mm-hmm.
You want it to only be you. Oh.
Yeah, Nicholas Pearce quoted me and said, nothing more scary than an angry Steven Universe. No, I said there's nothing funnier than an angry Steven Universe fan. Because they get mad about the dumbest crap. Let's see here. And then Super Planet also said, Laura Late and Big Queen Balloon on DeviantArt are bad offenders. Is anybody familiar with those names?
Oh dear, no.
The first one rings a bell.
Okay, well, I guess we know not, to avoid those people like the plague. And with that, we're at the bottom of the chat, and we've gone pretty good. This has been a nice long conversation, and I've learned a lot. Does anybody else have anything they want to say in closing? Let's start with Neo. Got any closing thoughts for us?
Not much really. We're very entertaining and learn a lot about art even more, and great hearing other people's opinion on what they think about it too.
Good. Yeah, I was expecting more controversy, but everybody ended up agreeing with each other. Gosh darn it. Red, you got any closing thoughts for us?
Well, I mean, as someone who was a former art thief and traced to learn where I am today, I'm not a great candidate for leading people into the future, but what I can say is, develop your own style, do your own thing. Individuality is cool, kids. But I did enjoy hearing you guys' opinion, and I think this was a well-written topic.
Awesome. And Alex, you got any closing thoughts for us?
Same thing, really. I think I stressed earlier about how it is better to draw your own thing than it is to trace. You can trace and stuff, but try to keep it on your own computer and don't upload it unless it's an example of where like you're making show accurate vectors for people to use. That's okay. Just there's a time and place for that, and don't do what Draw Ponies did and sell them. And like sometimes some things can be transformative enough, but when I sell my artwork, when I make prints, I always make them in my style, or if they're not going to be in my style, I do the best I can to not have to trace anything. And if I'm reusing like traced assets, like I said earlier, I will morph it around until it lines up with my line art on the paper.
Mm-hmm.
So, and by the way, one more thing.
Yeah.
It is perfectly fine to reference things because I have to do it a lot for my human artwork. So keep doing that. Reference is definitely a good idea. It makes the world go round, when you're making art. Just, be really careful about, making it way too similar because people will go after you for it.
And remember, children, it is possible to be successful while being bad at art. That's why CalArts is a thing.
Oh, dude.
All right, then.
Into the mic for that.
Yeah. The joys of having a mixer within arm's reach. As I get to do mean stuff like that. Anyway, thank you guys so much for coming on for this topic with me. Neo, thank you so much for for suggesting it. I learned a lot. I hope the audience learned a lot. I hope you guys learned something as well. And with that, I'm going to bid you all to have a lovely Friday night and a lovely weekend. Stay safe out there. Be in good health. And here's a big, very grateful shout out to all of my generous supporters on Patreon, especially those on the $10 and up tier who make my life so much easier. They are Princess Heather Blossom, Shady Oak Ministries, Sid McConroy, Autoknight, Emerald Spencer, Sodden, Girder, Senko, Jennan, Kellogg, Kyle Christensen, DJ Skywalker, Stephen A. Wilson, Rein-Kun, Princess Sunshine Sparkle, The Bootleg Bard, The Silly Fog Zoroark 720, The Equestrian City Heroverse series. If you would like to get on this show, I would love to have you. We just need you on the Patreon for as little as $1 a month. And from there, your topic suggestions get priority, as well as you get to be on the show if for Brony Debates if there's any topics you're interested in. And you get to suggest the games for Friday Night Fights. If you want to hang out some more with me, then tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I'll be going live with Princess Heather Blossom for Chaos and Crocheting, where we just hang out and read the chat while she crochets whatever she's working on. And then next Friday, we're doing Friday Night Fights. We're going back to an 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time because I am back to full-time hours at my regular job. And I need a little extra time to prepare when I get home from that. So, yes, be sure to tune in at those times, and I hope to see you all there. This was a great conversation tonight. Thanks once again. I hope everybody enjoyed themselves, and have a great night. Say good night, everyone.
Night.
No.